Chapter 4. From One's Assembly to One's Observer. Lights flashed onto a giant board table. Around it were a dozen men and women. Posters of various entertainers lined the walls. From one side of the room, two equally giant doors opened as Smithworks entered. Sandro soon followed. He walked slowly around the table, sternly looking and observing every single person. Sandra stood in the back.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Enemy number 1, James Bond, 007, licensed to kill. A privilege he has used one too many times. According to records, this has started back around 1962. However, some say he had it before then, more like in the 1950s. Allow me to indulge you.
The room began to watch a video.
You see, folks? You see how he just got rid of them? Innocent people trying to see their visions, make their views come true. I plan on changing all of that. They wanted to make the world a better place. I think it would be that, without Bond. I need all of your obedience and dedication if we are to get rid of Bond once and for all.
According to our research, Mr. Bond has only helped the world by ridding these people. You have gathered people from organizations that never should be in the same room. The mob with the FBI? Interpol with Intergang? How do you expect us to cooperate with you when you have no substantial evidence to begin such an endeavor? Smithworks then pressed a button on a keypad near the head of the table. A light then flashed on one of the portraits in the room. A portrait of Marilyn Monroe.
Mr. Palmer, I do believe that you and everyone here has heard of the lovely Marilyn Monroe. You see, my lovely wife, Sandra, is quite a fan of hers.
Sandra then emerged from the back of the room as if the classic Hollywood star was resurrected. She walked herself over to Palmer's chair and turned it around. She then winked at him.
Anyone want to name a popular film of hers? Anybody?
Gentlemen prefer blondes,
Sandra said.
No, my dear, Smithworks responded.
Well, everyone knows the great scene from The 7-Year Itch, Palmer said.
Yes, a classic for sure, but you're leaving one in particular out.
Sandra then placed her hands quickly under Palmer's armrests, and two clamps came out and trapped Palmer in the seat.
Some like it hot.
Sandra then stepped back, and the seat began to heat up. The temperature rose, and soon the boardroom was starting to fill with smoke. As it clouded the room, Smithworks took Sandra's hand, drew her into him, and smiled.
Any more objections?
The entire room was stunned. After all noticed the charred remains of Palmer. Still at MI6, Bond and 00 Siletti entered Q branch to find Q tampering with a new device.
Hello there, Q,
Bond said cheerfully.
007, 00 Siletti. I heard you were coming my way. There are some supplies for you over here.
Q brought them over to a table. He then picked up a black jacket.
Now, this is a bulletproof vest.
Q, I think James and I know the purpose of this object.
Must you interrupt, 00 Siletti? If I recall, you were the one who insisted on this mission. So shush. You are indeed half correct. This is a bulletproof vest. However, it has a titanium inner lining. The lining serves as a tracking device. I have one for both of you.
Q handed each of them their jacket and then led them over to another table.
Anything is better than that tracksuit-style jacket you had me wear one time. It made me feel like a hip young thing.
Agreed. No need to push things. This did finally give me a reason enough to use my radioactive lint.
I beg your pardon? 00 Siletti asked.
Oh, yes. I think I was tampering with back when 007 infiltrated Blofeld in the Alps. Late 60s, if I recall. The lining has traces of the lint to serve as an emergency explosive. Not to worry, neither of you will be harmed. Much to my dismay sometimes. This here is your new watch, Rolex. Adjustable wristband, and the winder is actually a poison dart that shoots when one presses firmly on it.
Quite stylish, Q. Perhaps you should start a fashion line. The Q line.
I'd expect commercial spots. Regardless, are you quite done?
The spies backed off.
Now, I have one more thing for you.
Q led the spies over to a figure with blonde hair in a white lab coat. An android? 00 Siletti asked in confusion.
No, this is an assistant of mine. Cheryl.
Cheryl then turned around and introduced herself to the spies.
Cheryl is going to make sure that you and the equipment are used correctly and sparingly.
And to accompany us? Siletti asked.
I am at the top of Q's class, and I have studied Smithworks for a while, and acted with quite a grudge against you. He has much knowledge of creating ways of destroying people in clever ways.
Well, we best be careful then, Miss
Johnson. I look forward to working with you, Mr. Bond.
No, please, call me James.
Only if you call me Cheryl. Really, 007? Cheryl, flirting at a time like this?
I was just introducing myself, Q. Siletti then stepped right up. Anyway, my name is Siletti, Siletti, but call me Daniel.
Pleasure, Daniel. I look forward to working with you, too.
As do I, he responded. Q rolled his eyes and then came to Bond and put his hand on Bond's shoulder.
Now, James.
James? Bond said in question.
Pay attention, will you? I know I have told you to take care of this equipment, and I want you to, but I want you to take care of yourself as well. This sounds like this is going to get serious, and I don't let this go. Don't let this go to your head. But if you were to go, I would not be sure what to do. I suppose I would miss you greatly.
Why, Q, I can't think of a better time that you would say something like this to me.
Just be sure to bring back everything in pristine order, including yourself.
Well, I'll try to. Daniel, Cheryl, we better be on our way. I feel if we stay here much longer, we will cause our own circus.
Why don't we stop clowning around, then? The spies exited the lab, and Q pulled Cheryl aside. Good luck, Cheryl. You're going to need it. Cheryl laughed and then followed the spies.